Josh, you were my go-to when it came to doing the redesign for RLS Wealth into Santiago. Wasn't even a question. I knew I was going to work with you. We have a history collaborating before, content together. I just really like your style. Also, I know that like you and I work real well together, so I knew that I would not have to give you too much direction. You know me well enough to know where to go. And
Mhm.
another reason I wanted to work there, depending on how you watch or listen to these episodes, I told Colton the same thing, that one of the things I really want to be able to do in my financial planning is like support people who you're not just getting started, but you're in the early days of the business that you're building. And I want to be able to support people who are going to be too expensive for me in the future, but I can be a part of the early story. And so when I'm looking at who could I work with, you've got the talent, the experience, the quality of work of people out there that other people may go to first, but you're still getting started, and like that's important to me as well, is to be able to support people as they're getting started. So that was another reason I knew that you and I were going to collab. The majority of it first was knowing your work, but then like
Mhm.
that was the cherry on the top for me, was to be in the early days of the business that you're building. So I don't want you to intro yourself. We're just going to dive into the brand, the discovery and strategy, and
Mhm.
we'll let you kind of introduce yourself through your work. So let me get my screen
Sounds
share.
good.
So this is the discovery and strategy that you sent over to me. That was after the first time we talked. So we went through the normal
Yep.
brand process. I guess real quick, what is your like high level? What's the process you take somebody through to begin working on a brand, and then maybe share some
Mhm.
insight on why? Like I want this to be not only exciting about Santiago, but I want to educate people on like what branding really is and why it's so important, because I love branding. I'm not
Mhm.
somebody who can do what you do, but I
Mhm.
know good work when I see it. Like I have an eye for it, but I don't have the eye to create it. So what does your process look like, and why do you take people through that?
Yeah. Yeah. Great question. Thank you again. My process really starts with just the discovery strategy part of the branding. Um, I think this goes for any sort of business. When you want to make sure that you are making something custom for your clients, you really have to know them. You really have to understand them. You have to understand their ethos. You have to understand like what makes them tick, right? But also
Mhm.
who their clientele are. So this branding or discovery and strategy is the focal point. It's really the most important aspect of it, because without it, I wouldn't know what to create. I wouldn't know what colors. I wouldn't know what font. I wouldn't know the logos or the visual elements. So with this is the presentation that I create after I do all the research.
Mhm.
And one of the first aspects of the research is you filling out that questionnaire form. I've expanded on it since then, uh, but but realistically, it's gonna try to figure out about the brand. It's gonna figure out, the brand trace, the values, the mission, their vision for their brand,
Mhm.
who they're trying to communicate to, right? Because design is really about communication. It's not so much about art.
Mhm.
So we have to try to figure out how to communicate properly to their target audience. And then we do a little bit of a competitor analysis to make sure that we're not trying to blend in, we're trying to blend out other competitors. Um, so what you see here is really the presentation that I created after the questionnaire, after our Zoom call, to kind of highlight a few things, to really confirm that I understand what you put in the questionnaire, but also to do a few exercises that I created, to really figure out where you're trying to be, not only in your voice, but your style, your visual style, I guess your overall your branding is just the best way to put it. So this, what we're looking at right here, is just the accumulation of all of that. The first week, 2 weeks of the process.
And so I love how you start with the project goal. So I'll actually read this. We'll skip through some of the slides, but I think this is important. So the
Mhm.
project goal for Santiago, again, this is the rebrand of RLS Wealth into Santiago, the future of my business. Life planning reimagined. We're done with boundaries, with templates, with other people's rules. Create the path that feels true to you, nothing less. And I remember reading that and I was like, yeah, that's exactly it. Because life planning is the foundation of the relationship. And even since we've started, like when we started on this project, where I've taken the vision for Santiago, the relationship that I'm doing with clients, that's evolved, but this still
Mhm.
very much applies to it. But this is like the North Star for what it is, um, that we're building. You have any project goal comments?
Yeah. Instead of, I mean, with the project goals, it's easy to say like, hey, we're going to update your visual identity. This is the rebrand. We're going to update the colors. No, that's just like a scope of the project, right? What we're really trying to do is really get into the ethos. And so when creating this project goal, it's like you're speaking to the audience, really, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's making sure that you feel the soul of the brand, and that's exactly what I was trying to do to when I typed this out, and actually, um, a lot of the words that you're seeing here was incorporated into that logo. Like
Mm-hmm.
we're done with boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
If you wanted to make a logo with boundaries, a perfect one would be all enclosed shapes, circles, triangles. But you'll see in the logo how the circle has a few entries and exit points.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the things that you said that was important was like the soul of the brand. And I do
Hmm.
think that I am abnormal when it comes to financial advisors and financial professionals when it comes to my love of branding.
Yeah.
But in a sense, that is why I wanted to do this rebrand, was
Hmm.
that I mentioned this with Colton, the orange we see in this display. Like I told you, I want to keep an orange in the color scheme as a
Hmm.
nod to RLS Wealth,
Yep.
because RLS Wealth is not going anywhere. Like the clients that make up that business are still the core of the business. The rebrand to Santiago is about the future, and the RLS Wealth brand, while I love it and I cherish it and I will continue to honor it and work with those clients, that brand doesn't allow me to be the version of me that I want to be for the future, meaning for future clients that come on. And it sounds silly, but like even something as little as incorporating some of the language that I want to use of intuition, some of the spirituality stuff. It might just be in my head, but like RLS Wealth, that brand does not support that type of communication, that type of wording.
Hmm.
Santiago and the story I've created behind this name, that does. So
Hmm.
like I needed to make this change to allow me to evolve as the advisor and the planner and the guide that I want to be. Like the rebrand was really for me to give me permission to lean into what I want to lean into. And as silly as it is, the RLS Wealth brand didn't let me feel comfortable doing that. And again, I don't think very many financial advisors think that much or appreciate that much about branding, and I don't know why I do, but that is like really important. So the soul of Santiago carries RLS Wealth with it, but it allows me to go into areas that interest me that I want to go into and work with people in a different way, much along the way the project goes. So the soul of the brand to me is really, really important.
I like that. It's like it was the cocoon and this is the butterfly.
Exactly. Exactly. I would skip the big picture. I want to go to the brand traits
Yep.
because there's a lot of stuff for us to get to. But so the brand traits:
Hmm.
authentic, free spirited, passionate, bold, intuitive, transformative. Like
Hmm.
those all, when I read those, and I don't know if this is a good thing or not, but when I read those, I also think those brand traits describe me. And the
Hmm.
reason I don't know if that's a good thing or not, and it'll be to be determined in the future, is should the Santiago brand be its own thing or should it be me? I think that the Santiago brand should take on traits that I am, but I want it to eventually be a brand on its own.
Hmm.
Which is why the name is what it is. Like that name has nothing to do with me. But
Hmm.
I love those brand traits. And authentic had to be there.
Yeah. I think a lot of businesses uh tend to go that route that you were just mentioning. I mean, it is start off like kind of like a personal meaning, personal brand for the owner, right? For
Mhm.
the creator. And then as they evolved, so did the meaning and the vision and the mission. But if you were to go back in history and look at how it all started off, you'll see the fingerprints of the creator,
Mhm.
the owner, was there, and that's what started everything.
Mhm.
Uh, I mean, heck, you can read Shoe Dog, or was it Shoe Dog by Phil Knight?
Mhm. Yep.
I mean, even though you look at Nike now, you don't really see his imprints, his fingerprints or anything like on there, but you read Shoe Dog, and if you probably, I'm sure they have a huge museum of like the early days. You can see
Mhm.
how it all like it started off with him and how it resonated with his personal brand um and Bowerman back at Oregon.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think you're on the right path.
And like I said, I to be determined whether or not these brand traits being ones that I see in myself is a good thing or a bad thing. Because I don't know how big
Hmm.
I want Santiago to be. Like I know at this phase of my life with the boys where they're at, and
Hmm.
having RLS Wealth clients still to work with, I'm not looking to build a big team. But
Right.
in the future, as Aligned Life gets known by the world and people want this type of planning, and maybe there's some other opportunities to help the creative entrepreneurs that I hope this all resonates with, is maybe I do build a team. And then
Hmm.
I think that those traits, my DNA can be there, but then the brand can grow along these lines without it needing to be about me. So I love the brand traits.
Hmm.
Authentic, free, passionate, like that is the big idea. I want to pause for a second on the rock star. I know
Hmm.
you have your avatars, if you will, of different personality types of the business and of the entrepreneur. High level, like how did you come up with these? What do they mean to you, and how do you use them? And then maybe tell me a little bit about the rock star.
Yeah, so this was all created because I read a book called How the World Sees You. And through that, I created a quiz that all my clients take to figure out their archetype, their brand archetype.
Mm-hmm.
And I always ask them to answer the questions based on how they see their brand, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or how they view their brand. Um, and because, and I mean, realistically, this is like your North Star when it comes to the branding.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to that 60-second elevator pitch,
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot of people freeze up, but this is a way for you to tell people what your brand is within 60 seconds. Like, it is the rock star, you're artistic, you're revolutionary, it's all about life planning reimagined,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there's a lot of different ways that you can explain it, but the rock star really is your North Star. So when I am creating the brand, when I'm looking at the visual elements, I ask myself, is this the rock star archetype? Is it bold? Is it artistic? Is it revolutionary? Is it unorthodox? And throughout making the logo, like when I took those little cuts out of the circles, I said, this is unorthodox. This is artistic. This is completely different. No one is doing this
Mm-hmm.
in the industry. And so I knew I was on the right path. And so when it comes to the rock star, they're very unconventional, very unconventional. They go against the norm. They're the person that's wearing jeans and Jordans on
Yeah.
stage at a financial, conference, right? So, their people are remembering them not only based on their looks, but what they're saying too.
Mm-hmm.
So the rock star does all of that. They really, like I said, is challenge. They challenge the status quo,
Mm-hmm.
and they continue to do it. They see opportunities everywhere, and hell, dude, that speaks to you exactly. Like it's like I hit the nail on the head here when it came to the rock star. It makes so much sense. Like when I saw the answer, I was like, oh yeah, no, this makes complete sense. This makes complete sense. Like I probably could have guessed it. Um, but I think the word the rock star, it does sound different, right? Because you're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah, I'm not a rock star. I think a better title would probably be like the authentic self, but they have it titled as the rock star. But
Mm-hmm.
nonetheless, like this matches up with you pretty well.
Yeah, if I had to list the names and not knowing what they meant, like
Hmm.
Rockstar would not be one I would pick. But then when I read these, and I think
Hmm.
it's easy to put ourselves in these boxes. Like, yeah, I want, but I like those boxes identify with me. Like one of them with bold, it talks about thinking big, thriving on uncertainty, unafraid to take risks. Like one of my favorite
Hmm.
quotes is that Kendrick quote: "There's beauty in completion and always faith in the unknown." Like to me,
Hmm.
unknown is exciting. Like the unknown of what Santiago was going to look like and the rebranding. Like I didn't have to do it, but it was something that was exciting.
Hmm.
Like I want it to be bold, but when I read the definition, I'm like, yes. But then the other thing I thought I'd share real quick. This is the first time I've looked at this slide deck since you gave it to me originally.
Hmm.
And the revolutionary, I don't remember if I made the connection back then or if I told you, but I did my gene keys, which is like based off of your date of birth, location of birth, and
Hmm.
comes up with this like kind of like map for what you're supposed to be.
Hmm.
And in it, like my gene key says I'm supposed to lead a revolution, which is like sounds like very dramatic, and it's not like I think Revolutionary War, like it's not necessarily
Yeah.
like that, but I think about the authentic life, and
Hmm.
that's my revolution that I'm trying to lead. Like everything I'm doing today, Santiago included, funnels up to helping people live their authentic life.
Yep.
And so like it is revolutionary. The way I want to work with people when it comes to financial planning is not the norm. You know, the combination of life planning into a collaborative, creative financial advice relationship into ongoing guidance, some people would call coaching, all in a financial advisor relationship. I
Hmm.
don't think of anybody else that I know of out there that's doing it. I'm sure somebody is, and they're just not very vocal about it. But so that relationship, when it comes to my space, is revolutionary. And what I hope for all of this is, and like why I want to do these videos with you and Colton, part of it is to tell the story. Part of it is to bring some excitement to the rebrand, just, marketing things. But also, I hope that this whole process, Santiago, inspires some of my peers in the profession to lean into their authentic self and to rebrand if they need to, or, show up in the way that they want to show up, not in the way they're told they're supposed to show up. So that's another
Hmm.
revolution and a revolutionary thing behind this brand is I want it to inspire more advisors to tap into their authenticity and bring that to the work that they do because I believe that will make them a better advisor. It will give their clients better outcomes and they'll enjoy it more.
Hmm.
So I love that I ended up being a rock star, even though I don't love the name, but I loved what they meant. So that was perfect. And the final thing I want to hit on before we dive into the logo, which I want to, in that transition, I want you to talk about how a brand is not a logo, but a logo is a part of the brand. Because I think a lot of
Hmm.
time when people think about branding, they think about logos. Now, I see
Yep.
your logo, we've got Santiago here. Like that's an important part of it, but that's not the brand itself. Um,
Hmm.
so the mood board you sent over. Tell me a little bit about this, and then I'll kind of share my thoughts on it.
Yeah, the mood board is really it's not a prescription. It's not a permanent idea, but it is the inspiration behind the brand's visual elements, right?
Mhm.
So when I create this mood board, I look for ideas, I look for visual elements that really speak to the brand. So I've done all the research, I've done all of the the strategy piece, right? And now I'm trying to see, okay, once I finish creating the brand, I want to be able to put that brand logo, the type, the colors into this mood board. And
Mhm.
does it match up? Does it look like it fits in? And I would say it does. Um, and with this mood board, I look at so many different things because really a brand isn't, like you said, a brand isn't a logo.
Mhm.
The brand is the feeling that you get when you work with a company, right?
Mhm.
When you see the company. And I mean, I guess it doesn't have to be feeling, but it can be many different senses that you get. That's what the
Mhm.
brand is. And so, you know, I started off explaining to Justin, like, hey, like nature images with clean typography or clean illustrations are can be key because when we're trying to explain life planning, we want it to be very soothing. We want it to be inviting. We want it to be very calm. And so
Mhm.
if we have like kind of like a blur background with like a nature image, and then you have like clean lines, be very geometric, then it's going to be able to explain that very well. And so the clean lines was a huge emphasis within the visual style. There's a lot of blurs, and because when I was thinking of life planning and the meditating piece, when you close your eyes, everything is kind of like a blur, right? You see different colors when you close your eyes, and I thought that'd be perfect if we can incorporate your brand colors into these blurs and have it look like it's moving, like you're inhaling, exhaling, and maybe when they're still, it's like your calmness
Mhm.
that can help with the visual language. And so we had that throughout the brand. Um, and then hand-drawn icons. I know we didn't get to that, but that's still, a possibility in the future, right? But
Hmm.
subtle gradients, I think, is huge too. Gradients are back, I feel like, within branding, and gradients do a great job with in this brand when it comes down to just the different emotions, the different processes you're going through, right? So, we have light colors, we have dark colors, and so when we're trying to explain something, um, we everyone reads top to bottom, left to right, and so we can have those gradients angled at those directions to kind of say like, hey, if we're at the top, you're going through like your life planning. It kind of starts off rocky, but then it becomes clear and clear and clear. You can have the gradient kind of move like that, and then that's why I thought it could be very dynamic. And then when it comes to typography, again, we're the rock stars, right? We're not trying to be conventional. We're trying to be unorthodox. We're trying to be, artistic. We're trying to be unconventional. So having a typography that matches that and a text layout that is unconventional too is big. So when I was presenting you the brand, we had those different looks with not all the words are on one line. There's a certain grid to them, but they all, you're still reading top to bottom, left to right, but the words are on different lines. They're on different alignments from left to right, middle. It's different, right? But at the same
Hmm.
time, it is very appealing to your eyes. It's catching their attention because it is unorthodox. So when I created the 7 pages before this, all of that, all those words, all that mumbo jumbo, boom, right here in the mood board.
Hmm. Yeah, I love that. I love I love the gradients. I don't remember if I told you that. So to see the gradients and the blurs, like I love that. And I think that for the branding of Santiago and this connection of spirituality to money and aligning spirit, mind, and body, I just thought that like
Hmm.
to me those gradients come across spiritual. And
Hmm.
in the end website, we use those gradient blobs to kind of represent spirituality on the website. So it was really cool
Hmm.
to see everything kind of move from your vision into Colton's vision. So it was really cool. And I was gonna pull up a couple of the photos that you
Hmm.
sent that were like representation of the brand like in the wild. So let me stop this
Hmm.
sharing and
Hmm.
then I'll do another one. So I remember like I actually want to do this. I don't know what it will be, and I don't know if you know what image it is, but I want to do this.
Oh, yeah.
I want to have a coffee table book, like going back to
Hmm.
the fonts aren't on the same line, and I loved it, and even like the thoughtfulness you put the words on the page, like it wasn't like the generic font that usually shows up, like it's legit stuff that's in there, and I in my mind, I don't know, but I one day want to have a coffee table book for the brand Santiago that represents like the work that we do, and maybe it's full of all AI like
Hmm.
like visuals that kind of help tell the story. But when I saw that, like I love these types of things, and I'll show a couple more
Hmm.
because to me that helps bring the brand to life. Like again, I love branding, so making the shirts, like these things I love, but I loved the book. How'd you come up with that idea? As I look for the next one.
That I think I was just honestly, I think I was looking at Pinterest, and I may have seen a magazine layout, and I think no. Hold on, it's coming back to me. When I was looking up the text layouts, like how to build on that, I think I may have seen like a photo um that was similar to the one I just made. But I thought, you know what, that'd be so cool to make and something just to kind of showcase not only like the colors, but the typography, the meaning behind the brand. And so that's why I wanted to create it. I think I did it out of like, I don't think I said, oh, I think Justin was gonna really find this cool. I was like, all right, this is fucking dope. So I think everybody wants a book of their own brand. Right. And that actually before digital, like that's how brands were presented. They would actually create books for the brand and showcase them. So in a way, this is kind of like a little, you know, tip of the iceberg of the pre-digital brand presentation. But no, I love that look. And then this one too. This was I mean, everyone loves business cards. They love the direction of it. And knowing you, I had to make sure there's a lot of negative space, there's a lot of white space, right? And something very clean, something with again a nature background.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and obviously presenting to the to the person receiving the business card who this is from,
Mm-hmm.
right?
I haven't had a business card in years, and this made me actually want to order some business cards. Like this made me want to have some business cards. And there were some other cool things you did, like there was like a bag and a tote and other things. But I just think
Yeah.
like for me,
Hmm.
like this gets me excited about the brand because now I can see it as a brand of what we think brands are. But yeah, I love this. If I ever get business cards, I'm gonna use this style because I love it.
Yep.
I just think it looks so good. All right, so
Awesome.
let's go to the logo now. So let me get this one final screen share up. All right, so we've got Santiago, the logo, in front of us.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
Before we dive in, you introduce us to the logo, and then we're going to dive into some of the hidden things that are in there.
Yeah. So the Santiago logo. Um, this this was an interesting one because I typically have a process when I create logos.
Hmm.
And that process is, I did the brand strategy presentation, right?
Hmm.
So typography and colors like a go-to. I look at those first. And then after our discussions, after everything has been filled out and I have a ton of information to go off of, it is it's very common for me to look up brand nouns that resonate
Hmm.
with your brands, and then from there sketch out some brand nouns and see if I can merge like two brand nouns together to create an icon or a logo in this case. But I as I sat in my coffee shop, like this coffee shop that I go to that's like my idea incubator, um, in the back of my mind this whole time, it just kept telling me to make that maze.
Hmm.
And whenever you have your gut, your instincts telling you to do something, you just got to do it. And so that's how I created this. Was really from a gut reaction with hours of research behind it, but it's almost like the universe telling me like this is the one. This is what you got to create. Like there's no other logo concept that you can create that's going to be better than this. Like this has all the meaning that the brand stands for.
I love that. I love that because I talk about intuition all the time. Intuition is a part of what I'm going to lean on with the planning I do with my clients. So the fact that intuition and the gut said this is it, and when I saw it, I loved it immediately. I'm gonna hop down to this last one first.
Hmm.
I noticed right away it was a maze. I picked up on that, and I
Hmm.
think one important thing before I get to the last slide first is part of my instructions to you was that I did not want to have a brand or a logo that was too attached to the book The Alchemist, because
Hmm.
while The Alchemist is an important book to me, it inspired the name of this company, obviously. I didn't want it to be like I was trying to piggyback on the book. So it's not like I wanted all the images that you would see in the book to show up on my brand like I'm ripping off Paulo Coelho. That wasn't the goal. So
Right.
having some nods to the book would be okay, but I didn't want it to be like, oh, it's obviously it came from that book. And I don't feel like that is the case at this at all. So when I saw it, I knew it was a maze right away. I loved that. I didn't think about all the meaning behind like the fact that there's an open and an end and there's little divots in it and it's not like perfect. But I
Hmm.
immediately saw the S. Like so,
Hmm.
the S to me was obvious, and I was like, yes, I love that because one of the things I love about a logo is like the hidden stories behind it, like the Easter eggs that live in it. We've got them on my website. As you when you
Yep.
listen to the conversation with Colton, you'll hear about the hidden things we put on that. And I just think it's cool because it gives me a story to tell. With the RLS Wealth logo, I ended up having a story to tell, but that was not a part of the design. Like I loved what that designer came up with. As soon as I saw it, I was like, yes. I counted the lines. There was 36, and I was like, oh, Wu-Tang Clan, 36 chambers. I can make a little joke out of it. Boom, there's the little bit of the story behind it. And it wasn't until years later I found out what the angel number 36 means and how much more that was relevant to my life, but it didn't apply back then. It did in the future, which was really, really cool. But I
hmm
love that this logo started off with some hidden meaning behind it because of the intention you put behind it. So I immediately saw the S. I don't know if there's any comments about the shape of the S and anything like that, but like tell us more about this S.
Yeah, so the S, I always try to stay away from creating like a monogram initially
Mm-hmm.
in a logo concept. The maze was the first idea, and I looked up a lot of different maze layouts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Believe it or not, there are a ton, and there was a bunch of trial and error because a lot of them didn't match up. So what I had to do was pretty much like create a top of a maze and just kind of flip it to make it very symmetrical, right?
Mm-hmm.
But throughout the process, I was looking at it and I'm like, you know what, this there could be an S in here, right? There could be an S, and so I just kind of kept tinkering with it, making sure that there's an entrance, there's an exit point, there are dead ends because a lot of the maze is a representation of your life's journey, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy. There's ups and downs. There's, bumps along the roads, and so that's pretty much what the maze was. And then when I slowly started to kind of fine tune it, that S became more and more apparent. And I actually maybe this was like the fifth variation of the S,
Mm-hmm.
I think. I don't know. There's a bunch of S's that I created in it, but this was the cleanest look.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the one I think I presented to you at the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I immediately saw the S. Like I loved it
hmm
because it's not super obvious and it doesn't like. I think you could miss that that's an S very easily, but for me it
hmm
was obvious. And then the
hmm
other little one that you had hidden in there that I didn't see at first
hmm
until you showed me. So there's this line and this circle and this line. So tell everybody what that represents.
Yeah. So my meaning, and the reason why I created it is different from yours, but you had the one-on-one for pursuit, right? You had the
Mm-hmm.
hat, the hoodie, and I thought, oh, that'd be so cool if it just like straight down you could see a one-on-one or one of one. And so, very simply put, I mean, the shapes just kind of lined up perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was fine-tuning it, the ones were actually kind of they weren't straight. It wasn't a perfectly vertical. It was kind of like slanted a little bit, little bit of a diagonal. And so I had to like kind of fine tune it a little bit. And that's why the S is kind of tilted a little bit. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
want the S to look straight up and down. It had to be a little bit unconventional,
Mm-hmm.
going back to the brand traits. But yeah, that's why I created that.
So when I saw that, I was like, yes, that's so awesome. Because if you don't know what Josh is referencing, I have my little creative collective pursuit, which is a longer term vision for creative outlets in the future. But I like to make hoodies, and one of the hoodies I made, like I wanted something that represented like living authentically, but I didn't want to put authentic across a shirt. Like that's see, if you have to tell people you're being authentic, like usually that's a red flag. But I was like, oh, like one of one, like that's authentic, that's unique, like that would be kind of cool. And I put quotes around it as a nod to Virgil Abloh, what he would do with his branding. And so like I have those hoodies, and so when I saw that, I was like, that's really cool. And then even the explanation, you didn't mention it now, Josh, but you were talking about like the life planning is unique and one of one to the individual. So the planning that we
hmm
do for our clients with Aligned Life is unique to that person. There's no cookie cutter. It is one of one, helping them live their authentic life, which is one is one. It's cool. So that was the
hmm
reason I loved it. And then like fast forward, this is like the way that this is why things are really really cool and make me excited. I mean, this was months later. I was building out a YouTube channel for Pursuit because I'm putting all the podcasts that are under that brand there and videos. And the PRST handle was taken. So I take to my phone and like, what's an angel number for pursuing? And there's a number of them, but one of the numbers that came up ended up being part of the handle on YouTube was 101.
hmm
So angel number 101 is often associated with new beginnings, self-realization, and a focus on your life's purpose. A lot of the things that you're going to experience in the aligned life relationship. It suggests a period of growth and positive change, encouraging you to trust your intuition and step out of your comfort zone. It's a reminder to pay attention to your thoughts and impressions as they contain guidance from the universe and your angels. 101, like you didn't even know that when you put, because
Yep.
it doesn't say of, it's 101, meaning
Hmm.
101. But now that we look at it, there's a third meaning to it of this angel number 101, which perfectly describes the experience I hope my clients go through. Like, to me, that is a wink from the divine, just to like, hey, you thought this was good. It's even better than you could have imagined. And this is just a little wink that you're doing things and moving in the right direction. I
Mhm.
think it's just so cool the way that worked out.
It is magical for sure. It's pretty dope.
And there's no coincidence behind that. None.
Yeah.
Because there were multiple numbers I could have picked from, but as soon as I saw 101, that was the one I had to go read, and I was like, "This is perfect." So now the handle is at pursuit at PRST, I think underscore 101 for as that channel builds up over time. But then it is here, and the cool thing is that continues to unify everything that I'm doing towards helping people live their authentic life. Like the business I'm building is the business of the
Mhm.
authentic life. Santiago is one of the ways I'm doing it. Things I'm doing through my personal brand, the content is it, and then eventually Pursuit will be documentaries, a podcast network, all geared towards helping people live their authentic lives. And then this is a way to kind of bring the two together, which is really, really cool. So I'm going to stop the share unless you have anything else
Mhm.
you want to say about the logo.
No,
Actually,
we hit
before we do,
it.
I want to read what you wrote. I think this is important
Oh,
because
sure.
again, this is excitement for me about the brand, but also hopefully education to entrepreneurs out there
Hmm.
about how to think about brands and hopefully a little bit of promotion of you and your skill and your thoughtfulness. Like your thoughtfulness and intention because I watched you design a bunch of other of logos and brands for people like I know the thought. I'm very thoughtful and intentional as well. So what you wrote about the Santiago logo centers on a circular maze design, as we talked about, a nod to life's journey and following your personal omens, which is a little pull from the book. Hidden within is a subtle S, which we talked about, making each path through the maze unique, just like a one of one approach to life planning, the one of one that's in there. The word mark uses obviously wide medium by Ono type company, so that's the font with this distinctive mix of clean geometry and organic curves that give it extra personality. Like it's not just like you went out to some database and pulled out some logo and tweak things around like you might,
Hmm.
try to do a logo by yourself on Canva or maybe go to like a Fiverr Upwork. Like I'm sure you can find good people, but I doubt you're going to find people who put the intention behind your brand like this. And
Hmm.
for me, that is very, very meaningful because I think the energy of the brand speaks. Meaning, like when someone comes across this, whether they understand everything that we discussed, whether they understand the logo, it's it's going to speak to them, and especially going
Hmm.
to speak to the people that I want to work with. So it
Right.
may not resonate with everybody, but there will be creative entrepreneurs that when they come to the website or they see this branding, it's going to pull them in because whether they know the backstory behind it, they're going to sense
Hmm.
it, they're going to feel it, they're going to know that this was an image that was created with love and intention, and to me that's really really important. Not everybody may care about it, but I think that if you're serious about building a brand, I think that you should be thinking about your brand on all of these levels. Like, what is
Hmm.
the like going back to the North Star, going back to the personality type, all of these things. Like, that's what creates a good brand, and that's why branding is not cheap. Like,
Right.
yes, go to Canva, play around with it. You can go to Fiverr and get a $10 logo. I've done that in the
Hmm.
past for things, and depending on where you are in your career, like budget wise, totally
Yeah.
understandable. But if
Hmm.
you are serious and you're a creative entrepreneur, I think this is the thoughtfulness you need to put behind your brand because it transcends everything that you do and it will speak without having to actually physically speak to people.
I agree. I agree. It's easy to make a cool logo, but it's incredibly hard and difficult to to actually create something that communicates to the brand
Hmm.
and to the audience. And that's what branding is communicating that exact piece to the audience.
And the final piece of it, I love it, is like storytelling. I love to think of
Hmm.
stories. And we as humans, we like stories. So a
Yes.
logo with a story behind it with some hidden things is memorable.
Yep.
Like there will be people now watching this that are going to remember this. They may never call me. They may never read a daily note, but they're going to
Yeah.
remember the brand of Santiago because
Right.
of the meaning behind it once they hear that story. So having a story behind your brand, I think is very, very valuable as well.
Agreed.
All right, man. Any closing thoughts before I kind of give you some more flowers and let everybody get on to the next part of the conversation with Colton?
Uh, Man, that's a tough one. If you're wanting to learn more about how the brand sees you, and you're just starting out, and no offense, if you can't afford, it's not in your budget to hire a brand designer, figure out your strategy first. You can easily just buy the book How the World Sees You on Amazon, or you can read it on audio, or listen to an Audible. Um, but figuring out your North Star is going to be the biggest piece first. And then everything will trickle down from there. It'll be like a domino effect. If you got your North Star, you'll understand that, and then you build from there, and it'll all make sense to you. And if you have any questions about your brand, and you just want little tips and advice, like, just reach out to me. I'm an open book. I don't gatekeep. So just
Mhm.
just hit me up.
And I would not be myself if I did not take an opportunity to say that, like, if you don't know your brand and you don't know your story, like that is a plug again, depending where you are in your career, but that is a plug for Align Life Plus. And I'll
Hmm.
tease something that we're just floating into the universe. It may or may not happen, but a collaborative environment where you and I get to help
Hmm.
an entrepreneur. So entrepreneurs, trying to find that authentic voice in who they are.
Hmm.
The work that I do helps you figure that out, builds the plan for it. And then once we figure out who you are and what the business really is about and what you want it to stand for, loop Josh in, give him all that information, and now you have a brand and a design and a logo and a font, everything that goes with it, color scheme that speaks to the authentic version of you and the business. Like to me, those things go together. It's almost like you need to start with me, and then we need to pull Josh in, and then me and him can collaborate because we work so well together, and we both
Hmm.
have a vision with working with you. Like, so I just float that out there that that might happen one day. Is that you might see an opportunity to work with both of us and get a real big picture. But
Yep.
I think an important key to having a brand that lasts is going back to the authenticity of you and the authenticity of the business. And sometimes that logo and that brand can serve as a reminder of who you are. Like
Yep.
if I ever begin to drift and I look at this logo, it's going to pull me back to what I'm all about. I don't think that'll happen, but it's there as a check. So I just
It
want to thank
should.
you publicly, Josh, for giving me the perfect brand. We didn't go into colors and all those things. Like if you want to hear more about the brand, Josh and I can do a part two and we can dive into the colors and everything as well because I thought the colors you pulled in were great. Um, I'd never had any doubts. I don't think I asked for any revisions as
Nope.
far as what you brought to me because I knew that it was right. Like I saw it, I knew it was it. I knew you were the right person. So I didn't doubt it. I didn't know what it was going to be. So I can't say that you exceeded my expectations because like I didn't know what to expect. I just knew it was going to be good. And I think that the thing I can say the most is that I absolutely love the work that you did. And I loved how it shows up on the website and how everything ties together. So I just want to thank you for the time and the intention, like I said, the love and everything you put into this brand
Hmm.
because it allows me to move forward with the growth of my business, bringing RLS Wealth with me. Not just the clients that have always been with me, but also the orange and the subtle nod to the past, and then show up to new clients in the way that I want to show up in the world and bring a new way of working with clients as a financial advisor and hopefully inspire other advisors. Without the brand, without the work that you did, I can't do that. So I just want to thank you. And if you are in the market and you're not thinking about working with Josh, like I think you're crazy. There's a lot of good people out there, but like
There is.
there's only a couple that I can think of, and Josh is in that short list. So I would highly recommend giving him a follow, learning from him, and then when the time is right, reaching out to get your own personalized brand built. So thank you, Josh.
Thank you. I appreciate it.